Good morning, beautiful people. My gosh. Good morning. It's another day. It is Friday. We have made it through the week, and I am so super, uber, duper excited about that. I'm always super duper excited, right? Even when things are bad, I'm still excited because you never know what the day is going to bring. And today I look forward to some greatness. So I got to tell you guys a little something about why I'm wearing the hat. Because I started the process of taking out my braids. And oh, can I just tell you guys, I really hate taking out braids because I got to get my hair done because next week I'm going on vacation. You guys are going to miss me. You're going to miss me, or at least I hope. I know I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm going on vacation, so I'm preparing to do my hair, and it is a journey to do this hair. So, oh my gosh, just be patient with me. Well, Monday I'll be nice and fresh. Yes, I'm almost done after I jump off the video with you guys. I'm going to finish taking out the little bit of the braids that I have left. And I don't think I look too bad, right? I don't think I look too bad with the hat on. But I'm excited to talk about today because today's lesson is all about education. Oh, is it ever? I forgot to title the video. I'll make sure I do it in a second. Let me just take this opportunity to share this video with my page, and we are going to get started because we are moving on to the next chapter and we are talking about education. Yeah, so I read this chapter and it's good, controversial, but good. That's some good stuff. Good stuff. So let me just share this video. Please join me this morning. I type rather fast. Whatever happened to type lesson classes in the high schools, right? It used to be in high school when I was in high school. But then again, that was like 2 decades ago or a little over 2 decades ago. So I don't know what happened with that in the school system. What a perfect segue. Do we have any birthdays today? We have any birthdays? Let me know so I can say happy birthday to you guys. Good morning, Dr. Telly. How are you? We're about to get started. I keep posting this one video guy on some business tips, and everyone keeps, well, not everyone, but Marva is so great at telling me that there's no sounds. So I'm going to try to post that video again when I get off. And I am also going to post the video on my review about Girls Trip, just in case any of you guys are heading out to the movie theater. You can see my review. If you're already following me on social media, on YouTube or Dr. Boyce Watkins channel, you have already saw this video. So I'm going to pull it from YouTube and place it on this channel so that those who are not on my YouTube channel can see the video. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Justin. How are you, King? Guys, let's get started. Today we're talking about the educational system. Let's get started. The reason that America has always feared, oh, my bad. Let me stop for a second because I know some people are new. We're reading Dr. Boyce Watkins' free ebook, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, a New Paradigm for Black America. You can always go on the description portion of this video and click the education. For those who have the ebook, who have already downloaded the ebook, turn to page 29. We're talking about education and I'm skipping ahead. So you guys just keep up with me. The reason that America has always feared an educated Black populace is because education is power. Literacy is power. Critical thinking skills are a form of power. African Americans are not meant to have power in this country. That is part of the reason that the system works so hard to ensure that African American children are not given an adequate opportunity to be properly educated. What's even worse than not educating African American is when society gives them the illusion of education. Instead of being educated, many of us are indoctrinated. Miseducation can be even worse than no education at all, and it has become a form of psychological Ebola. Now, that was a strange description that he used there. It says psychological Ebola. Where does he get this stuff from? But nonetheless, moving on. When you go to school year after year and are taught a bunch of lies, you're being trained to see the world in a way that makes you a highly effective slave to those who have been given the opportunity to brainwash you. So let's stop right there. Good morning, Mike Armstrong. How are you? Let's stop right there. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. He said knowledge is power. I would have to add on to that. Is what you do with that knowledge that is power. There's a lot of people who are walking around with a lot of knowledge, but they don't use it to yield positive results in their lives, their lives of their people, and their community. So I do agree that education is power, and it's what you do with that education that makes it powerful. There's a lot of people that have degrees and they don't have jobs. They're not living a good life. They're still doing the same thing they were doing before they got the degree. It's what you do with that education. And unfortunately, a lot of our children are in school districts that are failing. The system is destitute. They don't have new books. They don't have new computer systems. They don't have supportive programming. Whatever the case is failing. And a lot of people will argue against what Dr. Boyce Watkins is saying, and they will blame it on other reasons. But the truth is, we have been fighting this whole educational system since the times of slavery and the emancipation of slavery. So for people to say that this is not true, I question their psychological health. I really do question that, because how is it that we're still fighting this thing 250 years later, but you're saying that statements like this isn't true? So there's a lot of truth in these statements. Maybe not entirely true, but there's a whole bunch of truth in what Dr. Boyce Watkins is saying. And I really appreciate it, because we have to stop believing that the school system that we're sending our children to will educate our children. That is crazy thinking. I'm going to say it. That's not Dr. Boyce Watkins saying it. That's me saying it is crazy thinking. And what's even worse, like Dr. Boyce Watkins is saying, is the miseducation of our students. And what tends to happen is when we don't give our students the truth, when we indoctrinate them into believing what they want you to believe, then you come out all screwed up. I remember there was a time I didn't have the history of myself as much as I should have. And my mother grew up in the Black Power era. And she taught me a lot of things. Lo and behold, she taught me a lot of things. But what happened is when I went to the school system, they taught me something that was contrary against my mom. And I would fight them, and I would get suspended. I would get ridiculed. I would get singled out. All this stuff would happen to me. And then I learned to keep my mouth shut. I learned just not to say anything. And believe me, this is what happens in the school system. When we educate our children and they fight out against it, our children get labeled to be disruptive, they're argumentative, they're defiant, put them in special ed. All these type of things happen. So what I learned was to just take whatever the school system was giving me and keep my mouth shut. But I still had that rebel in me. I still had that fiery thing in me. But I also knew that I needed to stop getting suspended. So they learn how to control our children when you have the knowledge. So when you're going into school and you're using the knowledge and the power that your parents have given you, they will learn how to control you and shut you up. So that is a system right there that works against us. But we have to make sure that we keep educating our children no matter what. But what's unfortunate, so many of our adults are miseducated, and they don't do what they need to do to get the right education, because when they hear the word Black anything, it turns them off. It turns them off. So they don't really want to get the right education. They don't want to re-educate themselves so that they can be empowered. They have been sucked in to this illusion of inclusion, and anything that goes against what they have come to believe, what they've been indoctrinated to believe, they shut down as not right. That is miseducation, and we have to be very careful at these kind of thinking. False educational indoctrination will train you to believe that every great thing ever done was built, designed, and executed by a white man. You hear about the greatness of Europe and learn nothing about Africa. Ain't that the truth? The only thing you learn from Africa is they went and got us over Africa and brought us here for slavery. That's the only thing you learn about Africa in school. You are told that the foundations of mathematics and science started in ancient Greece, which is a lie. And he didn't write that, but I'm telling you guys, which is a lie. And hear nothing about the amazing things done by people of color throughout the world. You may be led to believe that the greatest thing a Black person has ever done is to be freed by a white person. Black history in public school typically consists of slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr., he didn't put Jr., but it's Jr., and President Barack Obama. Everything else is just a blur. Ain't this the truth? Whites have gone so far as to come up with like these scientific type of groups to study the remains of Black people that they have kept preserved in jars to try to make points saying that we came from monkeys, we are inferior because of the size of our brain. All of that stuff is indoctrination. All of that stuff is brainwashing. They have come up with this stuff, and people, white scientists, have signed up to listen to this garbage year after year, century after century. And they have done this even up into the 70s and the 80s. If you know the book Acres of Skin, you got to read that book. This is not that long ago. This is not that long ago. And they indoctrinate people into believing false belief systems about us. They have experimented on us. They have told lies about us. They have written about us and destroyed all of our documents which hold the truth about who we are and how great we are. So we have to be very careful about allowing our children to be educated in this school system that has historically told lies about who we are as a people. So stop trusting in the school system. The person or institution that educates you effectively builds a cage for your mind. The person who educates you effectively builds a cage for your mind. They decide how the cage is going to be shaped, how big it's going to be, the shape of the cage, what it looks like, and of what material the cage is going to be made. Therefore, when you allow an institution controlled by your oppressor to educate your children, you are handing over the most valuable asset to the very people who are seeking to oppress them. What is their most valuable asset? The mind. The mind. We must take responsibility for the education of our children. You cannot trust a system that is destroying Black children by the boatload and expect it to give your child an adequate educational background. Millions of Black parents are educating their children at home, even if their children are still in public school during the day. Millions of Black parents are turning off the radio and not allowing their children to watch white-owned racist television networks like BET and VH1. It's very important that we really take this all in and listen to this, because we know that there's an inner working. There's not an inner working. There's a greater working against our children when it comes to the school system. I know this so much so because I remember going into my attorney, which I do not deal with her anymore, and my GYN, which I do not deal with him anymore. And if anybody else want to get it, they can get it too. But I remember them asking me what university my daughter goes to. And when I named the Ivy League school that my daughter goes to, one person said, oh, what, is Columbia easy to get into now? That was real slick. He got next, and he was put in his place professionally, because I'm always going to keep it intact and professional, but he was put in his place. My attorney said, how did that happen? Is she on a sports scholarship? What, are you out of your freaking mind? How about my children are just intelligent? How about that? So what I'm saying to you is they don't expect our children to be educated at superior levels because they look at us as inferior. We know we are the supreme beings. We know we are very superior. Not that other people ain't got it going on, but Black folk got it going on. We built this place. We built this city. Okay, never mind. But my point is, we got it going on. We built this place, but so many of our beautiful Black children don't know the power of their mind because we are allowing them to be brainwashed and indoctrinated in this terrible system. We have to be very careful. Not everyone can afford to stay home and homeschool their children, but you can homeschool your children on the weekends in addition to what the school system is doing. You can take their history books, sit down with them and take their history books and go against everything they're saying by showing them the Black history part of it during the same time period. You can do this. I took my children the other weekend to the Intrepid Museum in New York. Why? Because I wanted them to take notes of all the dates, the names, and blah, blah, blah. And now this weekend, we're going to the it's the Schomburg, oh my God, Library in Harlem, New York. It's about Black culture, African American culture. And they're going to take those names, they're going to take the time frame, and they're going to measure it up against what was happening in Black America, what we were invented. How did we contribute to the Cold War? How did we contribute to World War II? They're going to look at all of that stuff. It is up to me, their parent, to do it. It is up to you, their parent, to do it. We cannot entrust this into the American public school system because it is not designed to adequately educate our children. We see this from going into an urban Schomburg. Thank you, Lindbergh. Library on 135th Street in Lenox. That's where we're going. I've been there plenty of times. I got a library card there. I don't even live in New York, but I got a card. But I ain't going to tell you how I got it, but I got a card. But my point is, we are in a school system that is failing our children. And we can see this every day. You can go into an urban school and then go into a suburban school, and they're two different worlds. The stuff that my children have in their school is not the stuff that Newark, New Jersey has in their school. The stuff that my children are learning in their school is not the stuff that the children in Newark, New Jersey is learning. It is up to us to pull our children out and start educating them one by one. And stop being afraid to do this. Stop making up excuses. Parents don't want their kids to learn. My mother was dealing with a whole bunch of knuckleheaded parents, and my mother was not a teacher. And my mother would invite people into the house, and she would teach them. She would help them to read, to write. And people who have gone back to college at the age of 30 because of my mother. Because of my mother. So we have to do what we must do to educate our children. We cannot just keep passing the bucket and keep making excuses. Oh, the teachers are failing them. Oh, the parents don't care. But do you care? Do you care? I know every time I scoop up somebody's kids, I treat them just like my own. And every parent that allows me to take their kids, they know I don't play no games. So your kid is not going to call me Shauna. They're going to call me Miss Shauna. And we're going to learn. This is not the household we play. We're going to learn. We're going to learn. So if they don't want their kids to come here, they don't send them. But the kids love me. They don't like when I discipline them, but they love me. And that's what we have to do because it really does take a village. Let's move on. What part are we up to? For those who are following along, I'm on page 32 now. Here's what we need to do right now. Here's what we need to do right now. Every Black child in America must be homeschooled. Even if your child goes to a public school, you must homeschool your children. This means that even if your child goes to school someplace else, you have to use the evenings to educate your child properly. You must use the weekends to give your child the additional education that they need. You must use the summer to allow your child to be educated on the things that matter. This will allow your child to grow in a prosperous, happy, healthy adult. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and it is also a terrible thing to hand over to the descendants of your historical oppressors. Damn, that's deep. Woo, let me read that again. Damn. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and it is also a terrible thing to hand over to the descendants of your historical oppressors. Y'all better sit on that for a second. Sit on that for a second. Do not, in all caps, do not trust the school system to educate your kids. Education isn't a bunch of information designed to fill your brain. It also shapes your culture, preferences, choices, and the way you treat people. If a girl is educated on the principles of child rearing, she is going to be a better mother. This is just for example, guys, so don't get all crazy talking about why he's talking about girls. Open your mind. If a boy is educated on conflict resolution, he is going to be a better husband. If a child understands the dangers of drugs and alcohol, they are less likely to abuse drugs later down the road. That is so true. Let me tell you what I've done with my kids. All the time, not some of the time. I tell them about drugs. I would take them into certain communities and we'll just sit in the car and watch. And I would let them observe. Let me know what you see. Let me know what you see that's going on. What do you see? What do you see? And it was like, why is he acting like that? Why is she doing that? Why is she in the middle of the road? What is he asking for? Okay, that's what drugs do. That's what drugs do. Sometimes I would even get out, depending on the situation, because not everyone is unsafe to talk to you, so you got to really judge it. I don't recommend everybody do this. And I would go out and I would have a conversation with the brothers or the sisters that's obviously tripping. And I will allow my children from a distance to hear the conversation. and I'll keep it moving. My children used to come with me to my job when I used to work for an employer. I worked in the HIV population, and a lot of time that population had HIV and drug right there. So the people in the community that you see me talk to, they're not strangers on the street. They're people that I would know from my program, and they know me and they have respect for me. So I didn't just go up to anybody because I would never place my children at risk of harm. But my point is, my children would come to work with me, and they would see it. They would see it. And I would educate them on drugs and a different type of drugs. And I would look it up on the internet, and I would have them sit down with me, and I would let them know what was going on, what it looks like, what they're saying about it. When certain songs are on the radio, before I even turn off the song, I would let them know this is what he's talking about. You want to put that in your mind? And I would change the station. And I still do this to the day. We have to educate our children. We have to educate our children. We cannot depend on somebody else to do it. Education goes far beyond the books. We have to educate them about life. We have to educate them about cooking, cleaning, drugs, sex, promiscuous sex, STDs, HIV. We got to educate our children about absolutely everything. Don't be afraid to take them into the world so they can see the reality. Because let me tell you something, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, if you don't teach them, somebody else will. And the person that will teach them, I don't think you want them to learn from them. So I tell my children about everything, including sex, from a young age. From a young age. I don't even allow that to happen in the school system, because if you allow the school system to teach them about that, they'll put all types of garbage in your child's head. My kids used to come back here with some, what the hell did they told you what? Oh, hell no. And I will re-educate them because they were being miseducated. So we have to be careful, because the school system also has an agenda when it comes to sex, and they will thrust that down your children's mouth and have your children believing that it's acceptable and it's okay. And it is absolutely not. So we have to be the ones to educate our children. If the parent fails to do their job, I'm on page 33, people, then the child will be uneducated or miseducated. Even if they go to school every day, and even if they make straight A's. And those are the worst children, because people, they forget about them. Those children go under the radar because they're honor roll children. They get straight A's, but no. Even my daughter, she comes back and she tells me, Mom, at Columbia University, I am so surprised that these kids don't know half the stuff that they should know. Why? Because I make sure I kept my kids grounded. And everyone who has known me from the minute I was yay high, even though I'm a very diverse person, I've always kept it real. I've always been myself. I've always been Black love. I always educated my children. So my children go in there, they know who they are. I had my children watch all Hidden Colors. They know who they are. They know who they are. So when my daughter goes into Columbia, she's shocked, even being amongst her own, that she's like, damn, this is how they think? Where did they get that information from? She's shocked how they carry themselves. She's shocked at the promiscuity that happens on the campus. She's shocked at the irresponsible drug and alcohol use. She's shocked. She's shocked. And I want her to be. I want her to be very uncomfortable. I love the fact that even to this day, she still calls me. I still go over to the university. We do things together. There's other people she'll turn down. But when it comes to me, she always makes time for me. And that right there lets me know that we still have that bond. It is so important as parents for us to have a bond with our children, because if they don't feel that they can tell us, they're not going to tell us. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. Understand and respect your role as a parent, for this is the key to your ability to shape, create, and define universes. You could tell your child that the sky is green, and they would believe you. If you tell your daughter she's a queen, she's going to believe it. If you tell your son he's a thug, he is going to believe that too. So we have to be very careful of how we talk to our children and what we are placing in our children's mind. This is the last thing I'm going to read, and then I'm going to stop for today because the educational section is kind of long. Even though I know, yeah, it's kind of long, and I don't want to go too long, so I got to take the rest of these braids out. So I'm going to just read this last thing, and then it's going to be a wrap for today, and we'll pick up Monday. So education goes deeper than what you learn in a book. It actually consists of a set of deliberate strategies one might utilize in order to ensure that he or she is given the opportunity to live a truly meaningful life. I was recently in a documentary called Elementary Genocide. Dr. Umar Johnson was another participant in the film, along with the rapper Killer Mike and many other interesting thought leaders in the documentary. Thought leaders with important things to say. One of the points that Dr. Johnson made in the documentary is that if your son cannot read by the age of 10, there is a 75% chance that he will end up in prison by the age 25. The specifics of this statistic can vary depending on the source, but the point remains the same. Education can literally save your life. Education can be the difference between a life of freedom and a life of servitude. It is not only as the functional task of giving you skills to have a chance to join the country's economic system, but it also can provide you with the critical thinking and information gathering capability necessary to keep you from being hoodwinked. So people may not always agree with Dr. Boyce Watkins. People may not always agree with Dr. Umar Johnson. People may not always agree with Shauna Etienne. I understand that, but there's one fact that remains. Our educational system is working against our children. That is a fact that remains. I'm so sorry, guys. Hey, can you keep it down? That is a fact that remains. Our school system is failing, and we have to get better with this. If we do not take an active role in making sure that we educate and re-educate our own children, then we're only setting them up for failure. That's what we're doing. We're setting our children up for failure. It's not about what somebody is saying that we don't agree with. It's about what they are saying that we can agree with. If we keep on looking at points that people are making that is different than our own belief system, we're never going to band together to move our people forward. The one thing I think that many of us can agree on is the educational system as it relates to our Black children are failing our children each and every day. And that is something that we have to work collectively against to correct. We cannot depend on the school system to do it. We just have to do what we have to do to make sure our children are re-educated and properly educated. We have to have them unlearn a lot of the nonsense that they are learning when it comes to history and who they are as a person in the school system. So if there's anything else that I want to read today, I don't know. I don't think so. It's already 8:44. I wanted to finish the educational thing today, but I don't know if I should. What do you guys think? Should I continue reading? Let me know if you think I should continue reading. Because if you say yes, we're going to finish education today so we can make sure we finish this book on time. So let me know what you think. I'm going to wait to see if you guys respond to that. Should I keep reading or should I not? I know Justin, yes? Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Justin is saying that a new study recently revealed that 75%, oh, Justin, it already passed. I can't see it now. I'm sorry. So let me just keep on reading. Can you keep the noise down, please? That's very distracting. It's causing me to mess up on a live broadcast, and I do not like to mess up. Sorry. We also need Black people educating Black children. The current educational system, unfortunately, is a lot like a plantation. White teachers are ruining the lives of Black children every single day because many of them are unable to see their potential. I'm going to add something on there. I'm going to keep on adding something because I agree with what he's saying, but I want to add on some additional truth. I'm not going to just sit here and just blame white teachers, because I have come across some very disturbing Black teachers, and I'm going to pull people by their coat when they need to be pulled, as long as I'm not degrading them. I have heard Black teachers, Black educators telling me that it's no use. That child is not going to do anything. The child is going to end up in prison. When I was in 8th grade, I had a home ec teacher. They don't have home ec anymore, but I was in home ec when I was in 8th grade, and she told me I would be pregnant by the time I'm 15. This is my 8th grade home ec teacher, and she looked just like me. Her name was Miss Violet, and that's what she said to me. I will never forget that to that day, because it hurt me. It hurt me to my core. I wasn't even having sex. I was a virgin for a very long time. My mother was like a Nazi, okay? So when she said that to me, it hurt me to my core. But what if I didn't have a high self-esteem? What if I didn't have a mother who told me I was a beautiful black queen no matter what? What if I didn't have a mother who made sure she spent her last dime and she was on welfare to put me in top-notch schools, whether it was dance schools, karate schools, high schools, no matter what it is? What if I didn't have that kind of mom? What kind of esteem would I have had when Miss Violet said I'll be pregnant by the age of 15? I wasn't a mom at 15. I wasn't a mom at 18. What kind of mom would I have been if that's what I believed about myself based on how a teacher saw me? So to just say that white teachers don't see our black children's potential, there are a lot of black parents that don't see our black children's potential as well. So let's go on. I'm almost done. Some of them see our children as criminals from the day they walk into the classroom, and this is especially true for black boys. Tell him that Sage is coming downstairs. The fact is that the system fears your son. Another truth is that he perceived to be a threat, especially if he's intelligent, fearless, and proud. The goal of the educational system, as most American institutions, is to break your son down and rebuild him in the image that appears to be the most fit for that institution. This is one of the reasons that athletes are so poorly educated in American high schools and universities. This is the truth. OMG, the truth. Because many of you guys know what I go through with my oldest son, or what I went through in the public school system. This is a boy whose IQ is considered very superior, and that's not something that I'm making up. When you take an IQ test, when you score off the chart, they just stop counting. So they just would label it very superior. They don't give you a number range because you just did extremely well. And my son has been tested so many times by that school district. They always constantly want to test him. He got skipped. He's entering high school and he's only 13. So my point is, and he's not turning 14. He literally just made 13. So my point is, my son has been a threat to the school system for a very long time. They never really uplifted my son. They have suspended him. They have tried to put him in a special ed contained classroom. I fought against that. I got lawyers, got him out of that. They have tried to do everything in their power to break my child down, to the point where now I filed a complaint against them, a legal complaint. So we're going to see this in court, even though he's no longer in their school district. Took him out. He's in private school now. But the point is, this is what they have done to my child over and over and over again. How can you do that to a child who has scored superior in his intelligence and constantly on honor rolls? He's in geometry and he's 13. 13, he's in geometry. How do you treat a student like that and think you're going to get away with it? But you had the right parent for all the wrong reasons. So welcome to my world. Let's ball. Let's go on. Let's fight. Let's do this. You want to do this? We're going to do this intellectually. You're not going to win against me. I promise you that. But my point is, we have to fight them against the mistreatment of our children. And let's not just let them use our children for athletics. Let's not just let them use our children because they're good at basketball or good at football. Our children need to be good at the books. They need to be good in science, mathematics, engineering, technology. That's what they need to be good at. Once again, in the case of black athletes, the primary guardian is the parent. Since many of these young men do not have fathers in the home to guide them, and you know what, I'm gonna add on a little bit there too. There are a lot of young men that do have fathers in their home, but their fathers are not taking active roles in raising them. They may be providing for the home. They may be keeping the lights on, food in the refrigerator, and a roof over their head, but that is not enough. That is not enough. So some of these kids, they are under their moms, because I see the moms. I too am one of those moms. I see the moms. They shuffle their kids to the football games, the basketball games, practice, soccer, you name it. They're shuffling their kids all the time. The stadiums are filled with moms. And it doesn't mean that the fathers aren't there. It does not mean that I live in a very suburban community. It's very racially mixed. I love my community. We have a high population of Africans, and I'm finding out there's more Haitians there than what I knew, and a lot of Dominicans are here. So we even though we're outnumbered by the others, but the point is, I live in this community and I see it. So it's not like you go to a suburban community and it's all fathers showing up. That's not the case. is moms there. Moms are at the games. Moms are at the practice. Moms are selling the food and stuff to raise money. Moms, 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 moms. So just to say that a father's not in a home, this is not always the truth, but I understand the point that he is making. Since many of these young men do not have fathers in a home to guide them, the job is left to the mother and the primary male role model. If the job of guiding young black male athlete is left to the coach, he is going to guide them to the football field and the basketball court, not to the classroom or the civil rights march. Athletes have so much power and prominence that universities and corporations won't dare allow their prize animals to become hindered with self-respect, educational achievement, community compassion, or any other attributes that might get in the way of winning a championship. That is so true. The high school that my son is going into, they are known for their football. They've been on ESPN. Recruiters come to the high school. People will pluck your child right out their high school and send them scholarship free to college. And many people, even the coach for the high school, he's retired from the NFL. They come out that high school and they get drafted and they get picked. And so my son got accepted into that high school, not because of any sports, but because of his intellect. They were surprised at how smart he was. So all his classes are honors. Every last class is honors for my son. Even though the public school refused to put him in honors, this private school did. Now, let me tell you, when we go into certain places and my son has his high school apparel on and they say, oh my God, you go to such and such high school? The whole atmosphere changes. They treat us differently. They cater to us. It's so crazy. And then they ask, do you play football? Well, what the hell is that? It's crazy. They see a black face with a prominent name, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, do you play football? Ain't that a shame? I said, no, he actually goes to the school academic. However, if he chooses to play a sport, he can. But he came here, he got here on a basis of academics. And then I later found out why they do that. Because this school goes into urban communities like East Orange, Newark, Brooklyn, the Bronx. They go into urban communities because a lot of my son's friends are from these communities, and they draft them. They pick them. They pay for them to go tuition free. Now, I'm killing myself with this tuition. But these kids go tuition free. Why? Because they watch them play on their leagues. And they say, we want them, they want them. It's like cattle. It's like cattle. They pick them, they pick them, they pick them. But my son wasn't picked for football. Nobody recruited my son. He was selected because of his mind. So we're gonna build on that. Like a plantation, many school systems actively work to keep children from black people who are going to liberate and elevate their minds. That is so true. The speakers who are invited to speak to your child are going to be those who promote a way of thinking that the institution deems to be appropriate for young black children. So they're going to have the sports people to speak to them. They're going to have somebody that used to be a drug dealer and now he's in school. They're going to have those kind of people to speak to your children, right? That's what they're going to have to speak to you. I see it all the time. It's not funny. It's sad, but I see it all the time. Because there are people who see blacks as inferior, they may feel that the best thing they can do for a young black man is to teach him to behave like a young white man. If your child's disposition is not conducive to conformity and assimilation, there is a good chance that he will be subject to ostracism and punishment, like my son. I've seen countless young black kids, especially boys, punished just for being themselves. Like I told you, they had put my son in special ed. They sent him to an isolated school with children that did not function like my son, and I had to sue them. I had to sue them for my child to come back in district. Isn't that bizarre? All because his mind. And everything they would say, he's disrespectful. But what's disrespectful? Well, he can't talk to adults like that. Well, is he cursing you out? It doesn't matter. He's talking back. If you're saying something that is not right, he's going to correct you. His mind doesn't think like other people. And all the reports is as though you're speaking to an adult. His cognitive abilities is as though you're speaking to an adult. This is what's written in his reports, in his IQ testing and everything. Because his mind is not how you expect his mind to be. But the person that they didn't want, this prominent high school does. So I'm not going to beg you to keep my child. Take my child out. And I'm not going to allow you to set my child up for failure. I'm not going to allow you to usher my child into prison as well. So we as parents, we have to do what we need to do to protect our children at all times. So here's my last paragraphs or two, and I'm out. Here is another important fact. In the quest to educate our children, we must confront the toxic hip hop culture. We must confront the bastardization of hip hop that has occurred, which is leading to the message that brainwashed our kids into leaving their destinies behind. I don't fault most of the artists entirely for what's been happening, since many of them are young and don't understand the power of their words. However, I hold record labels almost entirely accountable for providing financial support for messages that are deadly to young Black people. Hip hop was once a powerful art and from designed to empower people of color. It lifted our souls and made us into better people. It encouraged us to become politically engaged. It pushed us to study Black history. It made us aware of racism and despair occurring in our communities. Then it got turned into a poisonous minstrel show like Ebola for the soul. I don't know what Dr. Boyce Watkins is doing with this whole Ebola thing, but I think you get his point. When hip hop took a turn for the worse, it went from being a tool for for empowering people to become a weapon being used to oppress us. So it went from being a tool from empowering our people to becoming a weapon used to oppress us. If you listen to most hip hop songs on the radio, within the first 60 seconds, you are likely to hear a message that promotes excessive drug and alcohol consumption, violence, misogyny, financial irresponsibility, or sexual promiscuity. As a community, we have to confront and shut down those individuals and corporations who see our collective death as one of their many profit centers. Understand there is no other genre, music in existence anywhere in which women are disrespected than they are in hip hop. There is no genre of music anywhere that promotes the idea of Black men killing other people who look like them. There's no genre of music anywhere that promotes drug and alcohol consumption the way toxic hip hop does. There's no genre of music anywhere that glorifies a lack of education or incarceration. This package of self destruction was designed specifically for you, and it is catered to put your children in a prison cell or casket. So we made it. We made it through the education. Tomorrow, Monday, we will be talking about family. I will finish this book before Thursday because Thursday I will be on vacation for a week. So we are almost done. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know this went extra long, like 45 minutes, but guess what? We made it. We did it. We can talk about it. Take the meat, meaning take what you can eat, take what you can accept, take what can nourish your body, and throw away the bones. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But I trust that you find some powerful stuff in there to start positioning your mind if you have not already done so that we can elevate our thinking and take our children and transform them to be the leaders that they are destined to be in this world. But it's up to me, it is up to you, it is up to us to rebuild our community and save our children. I love you guys. I will see you Monday morning with new hair. And we're talking about family, 8:15 in the a.m. on Monday. God bless you guys.